Hello, good afternoon, viewers. Good afternoon, Michelle, my co host. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Yeah, how about you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you. So, today, viewers, we're going to have a separate, different session today. So, the table is going to be turned to my co host, Michelle Smith, today. As you all know, Michelle is a coach. She's NLP Master Practitioner and hypnotherapist. So today we are going to dive into one of the most underrated business strategies. Guess what? Sleep. Sleep. So our guest today is my co-host, Michelle Smith. Michelle is a coach, like I said earlier, NLP Master Practitioner and hypnotherapist who helps high-performing individuals to optimize their well-being and productivity by understanding how the mind really works. Michelle, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. This is exciting. It feels a little bit daunting actually to be the sort of speaker for today's subject, but I'm looking forward
Yeah,
to sharing some pearls of wisdom. So
yeah, that's good.
hopefully it will be beneficial.
Yeah, and I think this topic is perfect for this month October because it's menopause, World Menopause Month October.
Yeah,
Yes, it is very very important.
yeah.
So Michelle, I have 5 questions for you. So hopefully our viewers will get a lot from this and business owners as well.
I hope so.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay. So Michelle, you work with so many people who are ambitious and exhausted in equal measure. Why do you say that sleep isn't just about health? It is actually a business advantage.
Wow. A lot of what I talk about with particularly my business clients is productivity.
Yes.
And I run a weekly membership called Productive Living. So I firmly believe that one of the key strategies that we can use to be the most productive version of ourselves that we can be is sleep. Um, the reason I say that is because research shows that just one bad night's sleep can reduce our cognitive function by 40%. And if we find ourselves going from one bad night's sleep to another bad night's sleep and that becomes a pattern, then the impact on our health and our mindset and our focus is really huge. And it doesn't just impact our focus in our business, it impacts every area of our lives, really. So if one area is out of balance, then it stands to reason that that's going to have a knock-on effect to every area of our lives. So our relationships, our relationship with ourselves, our significant others, our family, our friends. So the bottom line is that sleep affects our focus, it impacts our creativity, our decision making, and our emotional control. And so I think that it's an often overlooked foundation to everything in our lives.
Mm.
And I think if we could all start to see our sleep as our built-in performance enhancer, then we can start to reprioritize it and see it in a different way. And unlike a lot of the other performance enhancers that we have in our lives, like caffeine, for instance, a good night's sleep won't cause us to crash during the middle of the day. It'll do the exact opposite.
Interesting. Interesting. I love. Thank you, Michelle. I love the last bit that you said about we should see sleep as our performance enhancer. So
Mm.
a lot of people take sleeping tablet, you know. Is that an enhancer to sleep? Depends. And I think what we put in our body during the week as well, or during the day, actually affects our sleep.
So
So, and you say sleep affects our focus. You know, it affects in our decision making as well, isn't it? So, if you don't get enough sleep, it affects everything that we do. And I love the in terms of your findings as well. You said 1 hour less sleep. You know, you said something about 1 hour less sleep reduces
yeah,
our sleep by 40% or something.
one bad night's sleep.
One bad
Yeah,
night's sleep.
just one bad night's sleep. And the
Amazing.
important thing to remember is that we're all going to have a bad night's sleep at some stage.
Mm.
And I think one of the key takeaways that I want to sort of put across from this is it's not about hitting a goal when it comes to sleep. It's not about, oh my goodness me, I've got to sleep as soundly as I possibly can every single night of the week, otherwise it's going to be a terrible impact on my health. Because when you start thinking that way, then you're effectively switching on the sort of fear centre of your brain, which we'll go into shortly. And when you're in that state, then it's more difficult to sleep.
Yeah.
So we can't get away from the fact that there will be situations where we have a bad night's sleep, but it's finding the strategies that help us to find our way back to a good night's sleep.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. One bad night's sleep. Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to move to the next question. So let us talk about what's going on in our brain. The brain is very important. One bad night's sleep affects the brain, it affects everything. When we are not sleeping properly. So what is happening neurologically that makes everything feel so much harder?
Okay, so when we experience a lack of sleep, then that stimulates or it overstimulates the amygdala, which is a small almond-like structure in our brain, and it's the thing that acts like our inbuilt alarm system, and its job is to scan for danger and to keep you safe, effectively. And the problem is when we're tired or overstressed, then the amygdala becomes oversensitive and it starts to fire off alarm signals, and it then causes us, or our brains, to treat lots of things that it wouldn't normally as threats. And so when you have a bad night's sleep, that's why everything just feels heavier, it's more stressful, or you might feel more emotional, because that amygdala is sending off those systems of danger, and that manifests physiologically in our bodies and in our behaviours. And what happens when that amygdala goes into overdrive is that the prefrontal cortex of the brain, which is like our CEO centre, it can't shut the amygdala down, and so we react essentially rather than responding to things. So if you can imagine the amygdala as like the brain's smoke alarm system, which is great when there's a genuine fire, it's not so helpful when it's triggered by burnt toast. So just to put into some context there, great for a fire, but when you burn the toast, it's a pain.
You can't eat it.
Now, if we're thinking about the prefrontal cortex, the bit that's doing the analytical stuff and the CEO duties of our brain, when the prefrontal cortex loses power, then we move away from clarity, from planning, are impulse control drops as well. So if you've ever found yourself mindlessly picking your phone up and scrolling on social media, then that can be quite an impulsive thing to do. And when we're in that sort of stressed state, those sorts of behaviours become more likely. And I think what we should also know, that's what's going on in the brain while we're awake, because we're reacting to having had a bad night's sleep. But when we are asleep, it's not just about resting, because when we're asleep, our brain is actually cleaning through toxins, it's clearing out the waste, the chemicals that are built up in our bodies during the day that needs to be removed from our bodies, and that's all done by the lymphatic system that needs sleep in order to work. And so if you can think about that system while we're sleeping as a rubbish collection system, it kind of makes you start to think that it's a cleansing process as well as rest and restoration. And of course, during the part of sleep called rapid eye movement, then that's the point at which we're also processing the events of our day, we're consolidating the things that we've learned, and we're forming our memories. So there's a lot going on when we sleep, and when we don't sleep, there isn't the opportunity for those things to happen. So deep sleep to me equals physical and mental recovery. And if we can think about sleep as our overnight board meeting, where our brain reviews the day and the data that it's collected throughout the course of our waking hours, we know then that the things that are happening to decide what needs to be kept and what needs to go, and how we're going to move forward in life, that's all happening when we're asleep.
Amazing. That is very good, Michelle. Thank you so much. Physical and mental recovery while we are asleep. And I think thinking about everything that you said now, then see a lot of people. You mentioned clarity and beyond as well. When people then wake up in the morning because they've had one bad night's sleep or two, and you then see people, especially Monday, Tuesday, then by Wednesday they already run down. They get snappy at people, because of what is going on in their brain that they cannot control, isn't it? Which is beyond what they can control. And then taking it back to work as well, they kind of perform less, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if care is not taken, sickness will come in, isn't it? Because of accumulation. So we need to think about, what goes in our brain. And you said something about if you can't sleep, you see some people, they're using their phone, isn't it? So which is not a good idea. So in your own, from what you've described, because it seems like science thing you've described now from this whole thing, what would you then recommend somebody that cannot sleep, okay, tossing about and all of that, they cannot use phone, using phone or scrolling down, you can looking at social media is not ideal. What would you recommend?
Oh gosh, I've got a list of things that I can share. There's a start of 10. And I also have a sleep hacks toolkit, which we can link in the show notes, and if people want to download that, it's completely free. So they can do that. I think it's valid to talk about the blue light from phones, but like anything else, I wouldn't necessarily get too worried about the blue light from the phones. What I would be recommending is a digital sunset, I call it. So some people take their phones into the bedroom, some people might find that actually not having them in the bedroom is quite a good way to stop going back to the phone after they've had a digital sunset. And what I mean by that is actually limiting in the hour before bed, not just the light from the phone, but the temptation to get drawn into things like email, social media, the news, and that type of thing. So if you can have a cut-off point of an hour before bed for any of that, we're not just dealing with the fact that yes, the body does respond to light, and when we're getting ready for sleep we really want to be moving towards dark. But it's also that mental break between doing and engaging in whatever is on the phone that might disturb your ability to relax and go to sleep.
Thank you. I love that. Thank you. And I think people just think, I can't sleep, I might as well just do some work. You know, where you mentioned email and make it up, you know, and then during the day, the effects will start kicking in, isn't it? Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. So I'm going to move on to the third question. As we know, Michelle, you specialize in working with women in midlife, both business owners and professionals. Why is this group particularly vulnerable to poor sleep?
Okay, where do we start? Why?
Start with us.
I think a lot of women will identify with this, but I think it's also important to say that, and it's interesting, and until I started doing all this research into sleep from the hypnotherapy and coaching side of my business, I hadn't appreciated that as we age, and this goes across the genders, as we age, the quality of our sleep deteriorates. And that's just a natural thing that happens. So if you think back to, your 20s, where it was almost like you could go to bed, you'd sleep as soundly as you like, and wake up and everything was fine. It certainly, in my experience, that tailed off. And it can be one of the things that people start to think, and I know I did, oh my goodness me, why can't I sleep anymore? I used to be able to sleep anywhere, I just can't sleep. So the reason I mention it is that when I heard that sleep does deteriorate, I was like, okay, so I can be a little bit kinder to myself. Now, that's not to say, and the deterioration is linked to our body's ability to generate chemicals like melatonin, which are required for sleep.
Yeah.
But it's not to say that as we get older we won't ever sleep again, because there are things that we can do to help us. And I think certainly in midlife, life can be quite stressful. You know, you might have caring responsibility for children, you might have caring responsibility for older parents, you might have financial responsibilities, career responsibilities, and you might be in a point in your life where you think, I don't know what's next for me. And all of those can combine to impact negatively on sleep. But we can work with our mindset, and we can work with our physiology, and we can help ourselves to sleep better. Now, when it comes to women, the hormonal shift in midlife not only affects our melatonin production, but it also impacts our sort of temperature gauge in our bodies. So a lot of women may experience hot flushes and night sweats, and that can disrupt sleep even more. And that's why I was particularly interested myself in finding out more about sleep, because there tends to be that pattern if you do get to sleep, if you're able to sleep in midlife, waking up in the middle of the night because of a night sweat can then make it really difficult to go back to sleep afterwards. So when you think about that, and then you think about the stress that I've already mentioned and how that can elevate our cortisol levels, that's another physical thing that's happening in our bodies that can have a really negative knock-on impact on the quality and our ability to sleep well. And they can make it a lot harder to relax in the first place. And of course that old friend brain fog can kick in midlife as well. And if you think about what we've already spoken about in terms of the cognitive impact of poor sleep, that can make that sense of brain fog in midlife a whole lot worse. So, you know, there's so much going on. As I said, where do we start? I mean, the other thing that I did want to just mention on this actually is that for women, and you know, and men too in midlife, that happens for men too. But when you reach a stage where you feel your identity's challenged and you're questioning your purpose in life, they can all make our brains feel unsafe. So going back to what's happening with the amygdala, all of these things combined just take us into a place where our brain's thinking we're in danger. You know, and that was really, really, really important when we lived in caves, and we needed to be completely alert to all of the danger because our survival depended upon it. But when our brains are constantly in that fear zone, it means that we're much less able to function to the best of our abilities, and there are things that we can do to kind of switch our nervous system back to the calmer, more productive place that we should be.
Wow, Michelle, this is quite a lot. This is eye-opener. This is part. Thank you. I love the bit where you said questioning your purpose in life. You know, that can affect your sleep as well, and that is true. At the moment, I'm working with few women on their personal development. You know, and is one of the things, because it is a safe environment. It's a 12-week program that we're doing on personal development. A lot of them, when we had the first session to kind of introduce and the reason, their why for joining that session, it was questioning their purpose in life. And a lot of the things that you mentioned, they've gone through it, and some of them are still experiencing it. And yesterday we had 2 days ago we had the third session, and you know, I could see improvement. And I think letting go, being in a safe environment with like-minded women, midlife women, helps as well.
I think that is such a good point, because when we think about our mental health, connection is really important. You know, and sleep, we're talking about well-being, you know, that to me is like a huge part of well-being, but so is connection, you know, and as you say, being in a space where you're with people that you can trust and be open and honest with, I think is really important. So that sounds like an incredible program.
Yeah, very important. And I think what helps as well is being in the midst of people that you don't know. You know, you can be vulnerable. You intentionally vulnerable. Let go. You let out everything. You know. Yeah, thank you, Michelle. Thanks for sharing that.
Okay.
So this I think this will link into the next question nicely. I know you've mentioned that your second question, the B, I kind of asked. So we're going to get practical now, Michelle. So what are some things that we can start doing tonight to improve our sleep?
Okay, well, I would say pick a couple of things that resonate from this list. Download the Sleep Hacks toolkit that I'll share the link for a little bit more. But I think one of the things I think is really important is consistent cues. So what is your bedtime routine? Because if you have a routine, it's training your brain to get into the space for sleep. Your brain loves predictability. And so if you create a bedtime ritual that is predictable and that is repeated every night, then your brain is going to build that association, and it will signal, okay, bedtime, we're safe, we can relax and sleep. So that's a nice one. And actually, I have a little aromatherapy lamp that I switch on, and that's part of my bedtime ritual. And it's like, okay, now I'm pressing the button of this little aromatherapy lamp that it sprays out lavender oil, and that's like, okay, it's part of there's something really powerful about having a ritual. That's one thing. The second thing I'm going to say is morning light, and I think it's a big subject, so I've not gone into it in a great deal of detail here, but if you can get 10 minutes of daylight in the morning, that's huge, because it signals to the body it's time to wake. It kicks the circadian rhythm in, so your body's naturally able to sleep, but it needs the cues to point it in the right direction, and morning light is one of them. And if you can, get as much daylight first thing in the morning up to, say, midday as you possibly can. So a walk in nature, I think, is a huge one for me. Walk in nature. Doesn't matter if the sun's not shining, daylight on your skin, actual daylight, not sat next to a window, but being outside, that's amazing. I think for the moments before you go to sleep, if you're struggling, or the moments where you wake up in the middle of the night and you're struggling to get back to sleep, I would say try focusing on your breath. So there's something called box breathing, which is a really simple technique that you can use anywhere, anytime, any day or night. And that's inhaling for 4, holding for 4, exhaling for 4, holding for 4, and repeating. And if you can do that for 4 repetitions, you will start to feel much calmer and much more relaxed. So 4 repetitions of that, or until you feel as though you've calmed. Another thing I would suggest is a mind dump. So a pen and a notepad by the bed. So if you tend to be a bit of a worrier, pen and notepad by the bed as opposed to phone, if you can, because there's something about the connection between writing something down and actually getting it out of your head. So if you think there are things that you need to do tomorrow, write them on the list. Or if there's something that's been bothering you, write it on the list, close the book, put it down, because then your brain knows that, okay, it's in the book, it's there, you can come back to it tomorrow. You don't need to think about it now, because now's the time for sleep. The other thing I would say, cool, dark room. So if your room's too hot or too light at night, that could impact your ability to get to sleep. So turn the radiator down, especially now as we're moving into the winter months, and blackout curtains, practical things like that. digital sunset we've already spoken about. Audios. So I do hypnotherapy audios for my clients. So if anybody's interested in those, I'd be happy to chat to them about it. But listening to something can be helpful, because it particularly something that is focused specifically on helping you to sleep. And I've not tried this, but I read about it a few times recently. But apparently tart cherry juice as a drink before bed, because there is a lot of melatonin in cherries. So milk's the same, so I know some people talk about hot chocolate or the old-fashioned Ovaltine before bed, and that's probably where it's come from, because milk has melatonin in it. So I think personally I'd go for the tart cherry juice, but each to their own.
What works for your body?
They're just a few practical things that you can do and try, and we're all different. We're all individuals, and what might work for me might not work for you, and so just try little things and then layer them in. Start with one, you like it and it works for you, add another one in and go from there.
Thank you, Michelle. That is very good. I love the 4x4, 4x4x4x4.
It's so easy, isn't it? It's easy to remember, and I've got another little handout on that, so I can link that in the show notes as well. It just takes you through box breathing, where it came from, why it's beneficial. But yeah.
Thank you. And I think another takeaway from me from the how to improve our sleep. Winter is coming. You mentioned blackout curtains as well, which is very good, because winter time I personally struggle because of all of that. So yeah, thank you. That is very, very good. And I know blackout curtains, a lot of people think is very expensive. It's cheaper actually. So, and I used that when my kids were growing up, just to keep them in bed so that they don't wake up quickly. So yeah, it is very good. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, thank you. And I think what you just did, this how to improve our sleep as well, can actually support nursing mothers as well. Exhausted and all of that. So find maybe while the baby is sleeping, you try to get some sleep at the same time.
Yeah, and if sleep's difficult, just relaxation techniques, to take the brain from that fight or flight response, which I imagine is probably elevated when you're a new mum, because you've got this baby to protect, and actually that your brain is then naturally scanning for threats. So, just being able to take your brain from that sort of amygdala smoke alarm that's going off because you burnt the toast, to the, okay, let's go back to the calm and analytical, conscious kind of place where we know we're safe. We just need to tell our bodies that.
Yeah. Thank you. And the music as well, I love it. And I think for me, coming from as a Christian as well, I tend to use, the scriptural based, kind of quiet music, and reading the Bible story, making it more, kind of bringing it to light. It kind of helps to drift away as well. So there's 24 hours as well. I think whatever works for you, people should just find whatever works for them. Yeah.
Yeah, and that speaks of finding a real peace. And whatever your peace looks like, that's important, to being able to let go and relax and get the restorative sleep that you deserve.
Yeah. Thank you. So, my fifth question. You also use hypnosis with your clients, right? How can hypnotherapy and coaching actually help someone who feels they've actually tried everything, to sleep better?
Quite often I find that there's things going on that are impacting a client's sleep that they haven't even connected with being a reason for why they're not sleeping. So stress and anxiety are right up there, and not being able to connect the dots between, oh my goodness me, I'm so stressed and anxious at work or in my business or whatever during the day, and not seeing that that is linked in to their troubles that they're having with their sleep. So coaching is really helpful in helping people to unpack what's going on and taking a step back and looking at it really objectively. Because particularly when we're struggling with something, it can be very, very hard to get the objective view. And hypnotherapy works really well from the point of view of helping you from a neuroscientific perspective to rewire the connections in the brain that are leading you to react in a certain way. So we do this because the brain is the most energy sapping organ in our body. It takes a lot of energy, and so it will find ways to repeat patterns, to do things in the same way it's always done, rather than having to think consciously about stuff. We react, we do, we get on, and sometimes our reactions and our patterns and our behaviours are not beneficial to the result that we want. And so hypnotherapy really helps to take you to a deeply, deeply relaxed state and start to build new pathways to new beliefs and new ways of thinking about what the challenge or the problem is, essentially. And it's particularly helpful with sleep disorders because it's about a really, really relaxed, calm state of mind, which is what you need for deep and restorative sleep. So, yeah. It enables us to look at integrating lifestyle, mindset and boundaries, and kind of bringing all of that together in coaching and hypnotherapy for a positive result. So, yeah.
That's good, and that's good. So obviously you've been doing this for quite a while now. In terms of feedback from your clients, midlife women like us, how has that been in terms of feedback? Using hypnotherapy and coaching to help them to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, what I just mentioned then, that quite often the connecting the dots is the thing that needs to happen to have a good and positive impact on sleep. A lot of the feedback that I get has been about managing stress, managing the ability to find calm, managing the reactions and creating new responses to things. So fear, particularly in women in the age group that I work with predominantly, fear, phobias and stress and anxiety can really skyrocket. So a lot of the feedback I get is about that, learning the skills and the strategies to become a calmer person, really. And with that comes the ability to focus, to get more productive and to achieve the goals that they set out to achieve.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. The importance of sleep was summed up. Anyway, the last question, Michelle. If someone is watching, this is a wrap-up question. If someone is watching right now and they are thinking, thank you, Michelle, that is me. I'm exhausted. What is one gentle first step they could take tonight?
Choose one thing, start small, and do that. Just one thing, and do it consistently. So choose something that resonates and make a commitment to yourself for your own health and well-being that you're going to do that. And as you make that commitment, be kind to yourself, because your brain has likely been in a place of fear, and it probably needs a bit of time to come round to the idea that you're safe. So yeah, start small, be kind, and don't beat yourself up. This isn't about setting a goal of I need to get 8 hours solid sleep or else. That's just not realistic. Yeah.
Thank you.
Small steps.
Thank you. Small steps. So basically, if you're used to sleeping 4 hours and you get to have 3 hours today, be grateful. Increase it, isn't it? Small steps.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One of the things that we've talked about today that really resonates, and do that, and see how it impacts you.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you so much. I've learned quite a lot, and I thank our viewers as well and everyone watching. So, from me, my takeaway, I love everything that Michelle said, but I'm just going to close the 4x4x4x4. Let me try and practice. So as we come to today's episode, let's take one last deep breath. Michelle, do you want to join in?
Yes, please.
And let me try and see, maybe I've learned from you. Take one last deep breath in. Gently let it go. Feel your body resting a little deeper now. Safe, supported, and at peace, because Michelle, you mentioned peace. How did that feel? How does that feel?
Amazing. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you. I'm learning. Thank you. Seriously. Thank you so much, Michelle. And thank you, our viewers. So what we're going to do, we're going to drop the sleep hack toolkits that Michelle talked about as well. And also, if you feel like you need to speak to Michelle, our contact details will be there, and she'll be able to help you. Thank you. Be at peace. Sleep better. Choose one thing. Start small. And you have peace. Thank you.